The National 12th Grade Reading and Math Scores from 2019 National Assessment of Education Processes has showed a steady decline in students' reading and math scores. What does that mean for students? Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Leena Marie, the Edtech guru, where we explore all things Edtech and education related. All right, let's do this. In a most recent article published by Education Dive and a study from the Nation's Report Card, it has shown that there has been a steady decline in African American reading and math scores versus those of white students. However, both are on a steady decline. From 1992 to 2019, in reading scores alone, there has been a decline of 24 points. From 1992 to 2019, in math scores, the decline has been 32 points. The article calls for more funding to high-quality curriculum and instruction, and that this should be a way to prepare students for post-secondary success. They say in the article that it should be a wake-up call for schools and others to understand that students are not getting the necessary skills that they need to graduate high school. The blame is being that there has been a disruptive fourth quarter because of the COVID endemic. However, I would argue that this has been a steady decline for exactly that since 1992. The thing about how education works right now is it's still very structured. And although there is high quality instruction given, there's a lot of factors that come into play. One factor is the teacher preparation programs that there are is you go through school, you maybe do a practicum of about 6 months if you're lucky. Some of the programs are longer at a year, and that's it. You go into the classroom and you're ready to teach. Now, if you're an elementary teacher, that means that you should come out with every single skill set in your back pocket to be able to teach math, science, social studies, reading, writing, now the STEM integration of technology. All of these things in 1 6-month time frame that you spend in the classroom learning how to control it, how to do grades. Most industries require a much longer training program than actually what teachers receive. Another factor is that typically students who are either of color or in a less economically advantaged area are suffering from other factors than just learning how to go to school and be at school. The stories that you would hear are absolutely heartbreaking. Is this a reason? No, but it is a factor when a student's not able to eat breakfast. Not to mention that most times in a disadvantaged area, the jobs that students are aware of are pretty low. Technology is helping students to be able to see that there are more skills and more jobs than they had probably ever thought were possible to them. Another thing is that the requirement is for students to come out of school proficient in 3rd grade reading. It's actually not that common that students actually come out proficient. This is from the No Child Left Behind that was passed many, many years ago through the Bush administration, and basically saying that the students should come out being able to read at a much higher level at 3rd grade. They should be proficient. This is also not typically true. I have had students come to me in 5th grade, and this last year before I left the classroom, I qualified 8 students for special education. They were not reading, and their math proficiency was well beyond grade level. In order for a student to qualify for special education and to have extra resources, they either have to have a medical diagnosis, so that becomes a 504 plan, where they can get extra tools to help them thrive at a higher level, or they must be at least 2 years behind grade level and go through many tests to be able to show a lack of proficiency in a multitude of areas. It's pretty alarming when at 5th grade, a student is not reading. The likelihood of them catching up with their peers is quite large. The gap is huge. It's very unusual that a student will actually come out reading at a really high level. I'm not talking about students who are not motivated. I'm talking about an in general type of situation. We need students to come out feeling success. If you're in 5th grade and you're not reading like everyone else, and you get to 6th grade and you're especially not reading like everyone else, when you're not learning to read but you're reading to learn, it's going to be an important gap that students kind of have. There's definitely a generational stagnation happening in both reading and math. A few other things that we don't think about when we're doing and teaching students how to read past the 3rd grade level. At the beginning levels, it's pretty common you're still working on your reading and writing and math skills. I'm talking about from 3rd grade on up. There's been such a stigma placed around students that they learn that at a young age, they are either not good at math or not great at math, or they're not good at reading. And then they carry this belief throughout school. But yet, every single day, students are actually reading. They're reading every single day. Where are they reading? On their smartphones, on the TVs. They're reading, but we're not reading and teaching them how to read at a level that makes sense for them. You may disagree with me. You may agree with me. What I can say is that there's digital literacy all around us and math is all around us. We, however, can right now quickly use a calculator on our phone and figure out an answer. Before, years ago, if I wanted to find any sort of information, I would head to the library and I would find the information that I needed. If I wanted to go on a trip, I would go to the library, I would find a book about that place, and then I would start charting the waters. Now, what's the first thing I do? I start typing in. Then I look at the reviews. Then I look at somebody else's review of the reviews. Then I start planning my trip out. And then I start to budget. I say, okay, I have this much money. This is how much I want to spend. Here's what I need to do. And then I can figure out that all right on my phone. I can quickly type it into a spreadsheet. I can pull up all the information. So a lot of times is, yes, I am not saying that at-risk students are not having this. What I'm saying is that we are not teaching the way that students learn. It's not in a practical manner. They're not learning how to read appropriately. And then there's also a second part of that. And that's that if a student is reading and we know that they're not reading, we just pass them through. There is no way for a student to get extra support unless the previous year's teacher calls the next year teacher, which you don't ever know that until the following August. So it's just important. I think a lot of parts about this research and the survey is also another fold of another discussion, is that you do not have to go to college to work in today's industry. We can see that Google and a lot of other companies are doing away with secondary education. One, you spend basically the first 2 years of college just taking things to take things, not because it's really important. And you don't spend, and then the last 2 years are the most important years within your college development because they actually are the classes that are applicable to your major or to what you're hoping to accomplish and the skills and the skill sets there. So I think that that's something that we have to consider, is that for a long time, we have just not been preparing our students for the world that they live in. And the way that we've done class sizes is when you have a class size of 32, you have a class size of, I had once 34 fourth graders in my classroom. It was so cramped I could barely walk through. And so it leads to a disservice for the students, because where does most of the learning happen? Most of the learning happens when you do small group instruction. That's when you see the greatest gains of your students, not in your whole group lessons, not in your lecture styles. So there's just a lot of factors that play into the steady decline of this research. I think that yes, it is a wake-up call. Absolutely. But the wake-up call has to be more than that. We have to look at our instruction like we're seeing at Wisman School District, like we're seeing at Los Angeles Unified School District as well. There are other school districts across the country right now making these changes so that their teachers are supported, but also so that the students are supported. When you can take away the teacher being just a lecturer and put them in a role of a facilitator, like a TA would do in college, you will have more meaningful instruction, and you can actually push these students who are way far behind in both math and in reading and improve at an exponential rate. I also am a firm believer that if you can integrate PBL into what it is that you're doing, not just problem-based, but also not just project-based, but also problem-based, where they're identifying a problem or a need. And this can be in any content area. They're recognizing the need and they're putting together and finding the research, and you incorporate some math skills. It's going to be pretty important, and you're actually going to see just amazing growth in these students and capability, and that at the end of the day is what we want. We want our students to achieve at a high level. And I think that this report is going to continue to see a pretty great gap, especially in the next few years, because of the COVID endemic and the massive change that we're experiencing. But what I think you'll start to see in this report is, because of the COVID endemic, you're actually going to see the scores starting to rise
and showing that the students are having a greater increase. Because when even a student is remote style learning, I was watching a teacher's lesson the other day. She had breakout rooms set up, and there was a student that was waiting for her and had a question. She was able to go into the classroom and talk directly to them. In a regular classroom, you'd have to be doing classroom management. You would then have to walk over to the student and have the discussion. The minute you do, you turn your back, someone else is doing something. This is just the ability for students to actually, who are struggling, the chance for them to get more meaningful instruction and have meaningful conversations. And it's going to lead in a greater growth in both achievement for students. And I think that those at-risk students, those underperforming African American students, anyone of color, anyone in a disadvantaged area, is really going to give them, for the first time, what they've needed and been lacking because their school sizes are so big, their schools are underfunded, the ability to just thrive at such a high level. Let me know your thoughts below. I'm interested to see what your perspective is on this. And remember to comment, share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Once again, I want to thank you so much for following along on this journey. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. And until next time, bye.